All right, today we got a walk-in freezer that's down. Now, I already did a bunch of the work already. So what we're gonna need is a new TXV in here. I pumped it down right here at the deck valves with some handy daily Allens. Because I don't want to replace the dryer right now. The dryer's still fine. Let's get down here. Let's replace this TXV. Because before my subcooling was at like 60 degrees because things was like slammed shut. So everything's pumped down in the condensing unit. Let's get this thing up and running. I already got my coil cleaning kit because the coil's a little dirty. Ugh, windy. But yeah, let's get downstairs and get this done. All right, TXV's in. Looks like shit because I kept having oil flare-outs on me the entire time. But TXV's in. It's all mounted. And yeah, she's in. So let's go ahead and get on the roof and start pumping her down. All right, so we're on the vacuum pump. We're pulling down. We're walling up here. We're cleaning the condenser coil. Obviously, it doesn't look dirty, but she's dirty on the inside. I'm missing some airflow on this side right over here on the left. Yeah, she needs cleaned, especially with all that. So yeah, get this coil cleaned real quick. So yeah, obviously when you're cleaning condenser coils and everything like that, you have to pre-wet the coils. Did it already. Oh my God. So it's not liking me none. They're not putting the gasket on this thing? No. It's with the gasket on the damn sprayer. That'd be great. That's way better. Yeah, pre-wet your coils when you're using New Bright. Get it all nice and wet. Helps with the cleaner. Now, as I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted by the wind and the staff turning off my water. Pre-rinse the coils. Look, I already got crap coming out of here just by wetting with water. Obviously, Viper makes their own coil cleaner guns. I just use a cheaper one because I'm a cheap son of a bitch. Yeah, a little bit of New Bright goes a long way when it comes to doing these cleanings. You don't need a ton. Because New Bright it'll etch the coil. Okay, cool. Yeah, you don't need much New Bright. It doesn't need to sit there and foam out super crazy. You see a little bit of the foam and stuff on the ground. That's fine. Like a little bit of foam is fine, but you don't need a giant cloud of New Bright just sticking out of this thing like some people do. It's too much. Way too much. So what let's do right now is fine. You don't need to do anything crazy. Yeah, just look at all that. And when you're definitely doing this stuff, wear some glasses. You definitely don't want New Bright in your eyes. It hurts. Take it from me. I've got it in my eyes before. It's not a fun day. Just look at all this shit. Yeah, try to clean the coil as best you can, because it's not fun having to come out here on a weekend, because it's Friday right now. I don't want to sit here and have to come back here over the weekend and clean the coil, because I didn't clean it right the first time I was here. Or if I didn't clean it at all and it went down again. And doing all this work, might as well do some extra while we're waiting for the vacuum to come down. When you're cleaning coils like this, I'm wearing my shitty boots. Wear some boots you don't really care about when you're doing this. Don't be wearing your Red Wings on the roof. Don't be wearing all your fancy Carolinas, because this New Bright will eat through the stitching of your boots. And when it eats through the stitching on your boots, well, you don't have boots anymore. So you spent $200-300 on a pair of work boots that you thought was super cool, and now you can't use them because the stitching blew out. So yeah, wear some shittier boots. Yeah, like rain boots are fine, muck boots are good. Those are expensive. You definitely want just something to wear when you're doing coil cleaning. But yeah, when you're cleaning coils, clean the ground too. This shit will ruin the roofs. You definitely don't want to be the one to pay for a brand new roof. Yeah, even though I've rinsed it a couple times, it's still coming out black. I might do a second round new bread just because of this. But yeah, when you're using New Bright, it's really not the best for the metal because it's a brightener. It basically strips the layers of metal off to clean the coils. Like obviously getting in your hands is gonna hurt, it's gonna burn, it's melting your skin off. And the brightener just can't leave on the coil. So when I'm sitting there washing this thing and the ground's coming out clean, rinse it some more. Just keep on rinsing. You cannot over rinse a coil when you put New Bright on it. Look at that. Now it's coming in cleaner. New Bright's powerful cleaner. It'll definitely get in there. These kind of coils, like this condenser coil, it's called tube and fin. Tube and fin is copper and aluminum. The copper tubes, aluminum fins. You should never, ever, ever, ever use New Bright on a microchannel coil. That's a 100% aluminum coil. Oh shit. And when you use New Bright on a, oh, come on, man. Use New Bright on a microchannel coil, it'll basically create like thousands of micro leaks throughout the coil. And then you need a new condenser coil. So never use New Bright on a microchannel. Well, that sucks. Let me clean this coil and fix my crap. All right, so now that we're all done with that, you can come in and open these up. Power's off, so it's not gonna just kick on. Make sure these things are all the way out. Put the caps on. These things are notorious for leaking. You definitely don't want to come out here because all your refrigerant's gone. You definitely want to don't come back out here on the weekend. You know, this thing leaked all its charge out because you didn't tighten a couple caps. It ain't hard to do this. Just gotta be careful. All right, let's turn this on. This guy's get a good stop. So the right pin doesn't come on because it's on a fan cycle switch. Right now, as you can see, pressures are a bit low. I have to add some refrigerant to this thing, but I gotta wait and see. Let's give it a minute to build up some pressure. Yeah, right now we still got a wet condenser. It's gonna take a minute to heat up. If you have a wet condenser, head pressure's gonna be a bit lower. So I wait for it to heat up before we just start dumping charge anyway if it is low. All right, both fans are running. Side glass is clear. About 20 degrees above ambient, about 8 degrees up here. Suction looks good, but to be sure, I gotta go down into the evaporator, take a look at it, and adjust the TXV to make sure superheat's correct. Typically want between 8 and 12 degrees of superheat. And I'll show you how to measure that once I get down there. All right, so the way I measure superheat is I have my testo probes here. So you clamp this onto the suction line, let's say we're right after the sensing bulb. You hook up this to that port, and the testo app will actually help you measure superheat. And on here, you use your service wrench and adjust that to get to your proper superheat. I'll show a screenshot of my superheat once I'm done right here. But yeah, you should be good to go now that I have it adjusted. Yikes, that fucking sucked. Oh my god. All right, so let's go over everything. Got a call about the walk-in freezer being too warm. Is that like 20 degrees, 25 degrees? Not too great. I got up to the roof, I checked it out. Not only is the condenser coil plugged, but also my pressures were low. Sight glass was flashing. I'm like, okay, not looking great so far. Then I gauged up. My high side was at 200. My suction side was at 10. Makes sense to me because we came out here a couple months ago and found the TXV was stuck. So basically the TXV was slammed shut, barely letting any refrigerant out at like 10 PSI, barely anything. Now, if the box is at temp, that's fine. But as soon as it gets out of temp, it can't maintain. TXVs need to adjust. That's why they're called thermal expansion valves. They open and close, lets more or less refrigerant through. I finally just made the decision. Let's go out. Let's get the TXV. So I took pictures of the power head for one. Two, you want to take pictures of the body itself to make sure you know what it looks like. Because some of them will automatically equalize out. Other ones won't, like the one we put in. And you also need the evaporator data tag. The reason that's important is because you need to know how many BTUs the system has. You need to know all the parts that need to go into the TXV. So you need all this information just to build the TXV. You can go to your local supply house, like United Refrigeration is what we use. They will help you build a TXV for you. You need to know all the parts that need to go into the TXV. So you need all this information just to build the TXV. You can go to your local supply house, like United Refrigeration is what we use. They will help you build a TXV for you. So that's what I did. I got all the information. They built me the valve. So I returned. I pumped the system down at the deck valves, which if you have deck valves, then great. And I also have ports on the other side of those deck valves. So I only had the evaporator and the line set. So everything else was pumped down in the compressor and the rest of the line set and the receiver. So I didn't have to worry about anything else. So and while I was doing that, I had my solenoid magnet to keep the evaporator open so I could flow with nitrogen while I was brazing. It's always going to be a pain in the ass, especially that last little joint right there. We're going into the distributor tubes. I had a little issues with it, but I got it, kicked my butt, but it is what it is. But we flow with nitrogen to prevent any oxidation of the line set, because that oxidation will get into those distributors and eventually into your compressor and cause all kinds of hell. That's why brazing with nitrogen is so important. Obviously, it didn't replace the dryer on this one because it's inside the unit. I wasn't too worried about it. Temperatures across the dryer were fine, so it wasn't clogged up or anything like that. So while we were on the vacuum pump, I also cleaned the condenser coil because I could not see through it. Now, you're not always going to be able to see through the condenser coils because some of these coils also act as like a receiver of some sorts. So some of these coils would be so thick you can't see through them. This is not one of those. So I got up there with the New Bright. I got my coil cleaning gun that automatically puts the right amount of cleaner onto the coil. I was using the max setting because I wanted to get some cleaner in there. Don't be like some of these old dudes that just sit there and dump New Bright all over the coil. They just go straight New Bright, dump it on there, foams out real cool. Awesome. Looks great. Except for the fact you just etch the shit out of the coil. You don't want to be dumping straight New Bright onto this condenser coil. So I cleaned the coil, got it all rinsed off, got the roof rinsed off because you don't want to leave it on the ground. And then by then, my vacuum was good. So I cranked open the system, equalized everything out. Then I turned the condensing unit back on, let everything run. Everything was working great. I did have to add a little bit of refrigerant. I had to add like 5 pounds of refrigerant just to get this thing to where it needs to be. Because it's 85 out right now. It's hot. And my high side was about 20 degrees above ambient, which is great. One between 20 and 30. 30 being your max. You don't want anything above 30 degrees above ambient. So you look at your gauges, or you can use what I use. I use the Dan Foss app. I'll put a link in the description so you guys can get that. And it'll help you with your pressure temperatures. So you have a whole built-in pressure temperature chart and all that jazz. Now finally, the TXV. TXV is pretty easy to do. So slapped it in, bust open the bottom, and then once everything was flowing properly, everything is mounted right, go in with your service wrench, and you can use your gauges hooked up to that port. Look at the suction, and you have to use your temperature pressure chart to adjust it. And then you got to put a temperature clamp onto your suction line. You take your suction line temperature of your clamp, and then you subtract that from the refrigerant pressure on your gauges. So I'm going to put it, again, I'll pop up my little Testo app so you can see what my superheat was by the time I got done. So you just slowly adjust it. It does take a minute to adjust, so give it some time. But obviously, not everyone has the Testo tools because Testo tools are expensive. They're like $100 a pop, but they're worth the investment. I definitely recommend getting the Testo ones. Field pieces are great because you can use cool apps like HVACR videos and do what he does, but he has to have a lot of different probes to do that kind of stuff. Testo, you really only need 2 probes and 2 temperature clamps, and you're pretty much set. They also have the air temperature one, so you can do temperature differences across your rooftop units. They have a lot of tools. I like Testo personally. By the time I left, everything was at about 5 degrees and drop-in. Pressures were perfect. Everything was great. let's get the hell out of here and get to the next one. I'll see you guys.